ever started a painting with one story in mind and ended up with a completely different one. In today's Paint With Me, we're exploring a richly detailed, cozy, maximalist world filled with flowers, cards, hidden details, and a little bit of creative chaos. And if you'd like to color this artwork yourself, the wallpaper and coloring page are available on my Ko-fi. Let's begin. So whenever I'm working on a composition with this many objects, I always start with loose sketch lines. Not because I want everything planned perfectly, actually it's the opposite. I just need enough structure to know where the big elements will live. The flowers, the vase, the figure, the cards, the larger shapes. Once those are in place, I can start making decisions as I go. For this painting, the flowers were really the anchor. That large bouquet in the upper right corner immediately became the visual center of the piece. Even at the sketch stage, I already knew I wanted those flowers to feel oversized and almost overwhelming, like they're gently taking over the room. And at this point, the painting felt very calm, very soft, very peaceful, almost too peaceful. And that's usually when I start getting suspicious, because my paintings rarely stay that way. Once the composition felt stable, I started blocking in the flowers. And honestly, I spent a lot of time here. The flowers are doing a lot of work in this painting. They're creating color, they're creating rhythm, and they're creating that dreamy, cozy atmosphere that pulls your eye into the scene. I kept the palette mostly in pinks, purples, and soft blues. Colors that feel gentle at first glance. But I also wanted enough contrast that they wouldn't disappear once the rest of the object started competing for attention. Because I already knew this would become a very dense illustration, a painting where every corner has something to discover. The flowers also became an interesting contrast later, because they started as the most peaceful part of the image. And by the end, even they weren't safe from the chaos. Tiny decorative objects. At first, all of these details were supporting a very different story. The original version of this painting was supposed to be about a quiet, creative moment. A woman painting peacefully, two cats keeping her company, a warm, cozy afternoon, a slow life scene. And honestly, that version probably would have worked, but while I was painting, another story started appearing. That story was much more fun. The turning point happened when I started working on the cards. They're sitting there looking completely innocent. Those giant eyes, those calm expressions, absolutely no signs of guilt. But the more I look at them, the more I started imagining what had happened before this moment. And suddenly everything clicked. The cats weren't observers. They were suspects, maybe even criminals. That's when the idea for the hidden book appeared. Worst cat ever. I knew most people wouldn't notice it immediately, but eventually some would. And then hopefully they'd start looking for clues. Because that's my favorite kind of storytelling. The kind that rewards curiosity. At this stage, I started adding paint everywhere, not just on the palette, not just on the canvas, but everywhere. The flowers, the table, the objects, the cats, the artist, little paint marks started connecting every part of the scene together, almost like a visual trail of evidence. And once those splatters appeared, the entire painting changed. It stopped being a painting about someone creating art. It became a painting about surviving the creative process with cats, which honestly might be more realistic. The paint splatters also helped unify the composition. Suddenly, all these separate objects felt connected, like they belonged to the same event, the same story, the same disaster. The last stage was all about tiny discoveries, small details, little accents, additional textures, fine highlights, places where the eye could wander. Because I wanted people to keep finding new things. Maybe they noticed the flowers first, maybe they noticed the cat, or maybe they noticed the bird. Everyone enters the painting from a different place, and that's something I really enjoy. I love making artwork that feels explorable, artwork that encourages visual wandering, artwork that rewards a second look. And here's the finished piece, a cozy maximalist world filled with flowers, cat, hidden details, visual storytelling, and a surprising amount of evidence against two very innocent-looking cats. If you like this artwork as a wallpaper, or if you like to cover the line art yourself, both are available on my Ko-fi. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes painting with me, and I'll see you in the next one.